Many thanks again for staying with me on the program TMI Monday. Of course, the OSUN State governorship election has been concluded, but the story is that the election has been declared inconclusive by the Independent National Electoral Commission. And the reason being that the difference between the top two parties in the election is far smaller than the number of voided votes. I mean, between PDP and APC, which emerged first and second in the election, you just have over 330-something votes, all right? And then you compare that to the over 3,000 votes that were voided in that election. The INEC returning officer had no choice but to declare the election inconclusive. Well, that has been done, or be that as it may, it has also attracted reactions from analysts, whether politicians or lawyers, as the case may be. Today, we have two lawyers in the studio to give us in-depth analysis into what has happened in OSUN State. Well, the rerun has been scheduled for 27th of September. Of course, we heard just now former Vice President Atiku Abubakar saying, well, INEC should do the needful and declare his party the winner. But the ruling party is saying they are ready for the rerun election. And Aregbesola, the incumbent governor of that state, has also given insight into what will happen at the rerun election. That's the take-off point on the show this beautiful Monday. I'd like to thank very especially Barrister Adams Lee, a constitutional lawyer and a notary public. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, viewers. Thank you very much.
I also want to thank Barrister Matthew Adegese for finding time to be here as well. We appreciate you.
Thanks for having me too.
We expect Barrister Leonard Osawage to join this discussion. We hope he gets here on time. But let's get the discussion on course. Barrister Adams, let me start with you. Let me start with you. Yeah. The election, to a large extent, okay, let's say season one of the election is come and gone. INEC has declared the election inconclusive. Give us the legal interpretation of what INEC has done.
Well, we are practicing constitutional democracy. That is to say, democracy based on the Constitution, as exemplified in Chapter 1, Part 1, Section 1 of the Constitution, which says that the Constitution is supreme, and that any other thing that is at variance with the Constitution is to that extent of inconsistency, null and void. Even if it were to be electoral Act 2010, if it is inconsistent with the Constitution, which is the ground of it's null and void. So we are bound by it. The fact in issue in this case draws us to Section 179 of the Constitution, which states inter alia, among other things, that for a candidate to be declared winner in a gubernatorial election, he has two conditions to meet. One, he should score the highest number of votes. Two, that highest number of votes must be spread across at least 1/4 of 2/3 of the states of the local governments. Ipso facto, if OSUN were to have 30 local governments, Elisha, Ife, Iragbaji, Oshogbo, Ede, etc., that highest vote should be spread through 1/4 of 2/3, not all the local governments. It should score about winning, and it will have been gathered from there. Those are the two conditions. Now, the returning, the resident electoral commissioner has declared that it is void, it's inconclusive. The Constitution says that when there is no clear winner, the person does not satisfy these two conditions. Highest votes, then spread to 1/4 or 2/3 of all the population. There will be a return within 7 days. Now, the resident electoral commissioner used the words that the difference was insignificant. In fact, one had 254,600, the other one had 254,300. The word insignificant is not appropriate. because the Constitution does not specify the number that the margin must be. It only says that that majority vote you use in winning, you must not be unknown in 2/3 of the local government. We have not been told the votes from 2/3 of the local government, or that the winner, supposed winner, quote unquote, did not get that one in 2/3 of all the local government. So it was, we call it in law, ipsissima verba. The very words from him that they are insignificant is not appropriate in law. He laid emphasis on void votes, 3,000 and over being void votes. In law and in practice, voided votes are neither here nor there. They could belong to A or B. In Oshomole versus Osumbo 2007, I happen to have been one of the lawyers who appeared in that matter. The voided votes were set aside. They were deducted. They were not given to A or B. It is the valid vote that was the determinants from the tribunal up to the Court of Appeal. I appeared in that matter. Then, more importantly, the resident electoral officer said that during the rerun, 48 parties that fielded candidates will take part in the election. This is not so in the Constitution. The Constitution 179, sub 2, sub B, specifies that only the two leading parties will contest that election. So here we are, but the most important thing is that the constitutional democracy, if the Constitution is trespassed on your preserves and you don't like what is going on, you seek redress. There have been many cases where governorship elections have been taken to court. Okay. 207 was a case, somebody lost, went to court and won. There are many other cases. You go to court with the available fact before the judge. The end will decide the means.
Okay, Pastor Matthew Degese, this is a provision in the Electoral Act as amended. And some have said, if you take that portion of the Electoral Act, interface it with what is available in the Constitution, that it cannot stand the test of time. How true is this?
My learned friend here has said, he has spoken extensively and appropriately in conformity with the known legal interpretation of the Constitution and the extant laws. And the fundamental issue is that when a particular piece of enactment is inconsistent with the provision of the ground norm, which is Constitution, to that extent consistency, that other one becomes the nullity, null and void. Constitution is supreme. Okay. He has appropriately posited that. But to add to what they have said, the INEC ordinarily is supposed to be an umpire, an unbiased umpire. It's a referee in the political contest. What they have done at OSUN State, what the Electoral Commissioner or the Returning Officer appeared to have done, was to help a losing team by kicking the ball into the net and expected the spectators to applaud it. A goal scored by a referee can never count. Let the players decide their destiny based on their performance. From what has been revealed and released to the entire world, all Nigerians and the entire world are aware of the winner of the OSUN State election. The result has been released. It has been announced. What is not done is the declaration of the winner. If these two conditions are available, the third is just a formality. If you record a goal as being scored, it's not an offside goal, the goal is not disallowed. You cannot fail to credit that goal to the person who scored the goal. That is what the OSUN electoral umpire appeared to have done. By saying, yes, he scored the winning goal, it was scored by SYZ player, but the match is not won yet. Even with the goal, with the winning goal scored and recorded. OSUN State, this whole idea, the semantics of saying the margin was, if you add what was not added, the result would have been different. It's a logic standing on its head. What is not added is not part of it. You cannot now be juxtaposing what does not exist to what exists and using the abstract to determine the fate of the real. When a vote is voided, it is voided. If it is cancelled, it is cancelled. In fact, the authority that cancelled the vote is the authority saying those cancelled votes should have made a difference. The question is, if you know that cancellation is a taboo, why did you cancel? If cancellation is a norm, why are you now making cancelled vote to count? And you're registering it against what you have declared as a result. You are calling for a rerun. In Ekiti State elections, we were all living witness to what was televised on live televisions across the world during the covering of that Ekiti elections. Ballot papers were snatched, destroyed. Violence took place in some area and vote did not even successfully take place there. As we speak today, a winner was announced in that election and declared. That did not stop them from declaring the results in the Ekiti State. Large-scale violence and irregularity. Their ground was that what they accept as a valid vote have been able to produce a winner, a clear winner. Why are you now making it look like there is a stipulated margin for a winner to emerge? It's a simple majority. Even you can win by a single vote. What INEC is shopping for is confusion, artificially created by them and they alone, not by the contestants. The winners, the contestants have done their best. The electorate have cast their votes. The results are there to see. There were no large-scale violence, no substantial irregularity. And they cannot now decide to destroy what they have done because they want to appease certain interests. That is the obvious interpretation of what they are doing. If I were the PDP, Adeleke, I will not settle for any rerun. I will go to court and challenge it. Let INEC not assume the power of the judiciary. They cannot cancel results, and they want to sit in judgment over that same cancellation to stop what is lawfully put into being. They can't do that. If they have any other issue, let the people who felt they are aggrieved go to the electoral tribunal and challenge the declared results.
Okay. In declaring the election inconclusive, we heard from the returning officer. Are we saying, based on what is available in our law books, so to speak, the different parts of the law, which of course gives us guidance in the conduct of an election, were not appropriately explored and x-rayed before that statement was made?
Yeah, very well. There was no statutory interpretation by the resident electoral commissioner. Two conditions are sine qua non. One, you should have the highest number of votes. Candidate A has 254,600. Candidate B has 254,300. There's a margin of 300, that is clear. The other rider is that these 254 winning votes should have been garnered from at least 1/4 of the votes of all of 2/3 of the local government. I gave a scenario that if there are 30 local governments in OSUN, the winner should have got 1/4 of 2/3 of 20. INEC was silent about that. It did not say where the winner, the alleged winner, quote unquote, got his 254,600. It didn't say it. So maybe when they get to court, it will prove. If it is true that he got all his 1 million votes in Elisha or in Ilefe, he didn't spread out, then obviously the result will be inconclusive. But if he managed to get 1/4 of the vote cast in 2/3, and it's very easy for a winner, even before you can really win, even in Nigeria, like Edo State in 2015. Muhammadu Buhari is president. He didn't win in Edo State, but he got more than 1/4. And that's what is expected. That wherever you will lose, you will get 1/4 or more. Then in the place which is your constituency, you get more. So INEC is silent about that. Whether PDP's 254,000 was not spread throughout at least 1/4 of the votes he put. The court will decide that.
Okay.
Then he now threw it open for the whole 48 parties ab initio
to recontest the rerun.
That is against 179 section 4. 179 sub 4 specifies that only the 2 leading parties will contest within 7 days. Then another one, the INEC now laid emphasis on the accentuating the cancelled votes. As I said earlier, if a vote is cancelled, it is cancelled. It is neither here nor there. It does not belong to A or B, but it is cancelled for everybody. You work with the valid votes. We had that situation in 2007, Oshomole and Osunbo, where I appear. So these are the facts. The constitutional lawyers will take it up from there,
okay,
and let us see where it goes.
All right, let's look at the undercurrents leading to this election. As a matter of fact, did you expect the result to be this way in your Osun State governorship election against the background of the power of incumbency, the war chest, so to speak, in terms of funding and all of that? Were you expecting the results this way?
Every political pundit who is worth the name should know that what happened in Osun State wasn't an accident. It was expected. When you feel the pulse of a people before general elections, if you are an opinion pollster, you should be able to know where the pendulum is swinging. Few hours to the election, if not a day or so, the police force made a very frantic effort to get the Adeleke man, the PDP candidate, sent to charge to court on issues of certificates. That was against the backdrop that he was just emerging from the charge against him over the WAEC certificate issue. Okay. The very moment court declared a verdict on that he actually sat, which by extension means he was eligible, they went on a shopping spree for whatever they could catch on to nail him again. And the whole world knew at that point that there was desperation somewhere. And that Adeleke, by that act against him, appeared to be the candidate to beat in the election. Because if a player is inconsequential, you don't send too many other players to mark him down. If you are sending more than 5 players to mark a particular player, it means he's the star of the tournament. So they made Adeleke by their own desperation. They projected him in very wonderful light as the man who holds the ace in the Osun election. And again, there was a presidential directive. Perhaps they saw how terribly that would work against them, public sentiment and opinion, that they should stop that obvious gagging of Adeleke. That if they have any case against him, they should wait till after the elections. Okay. Because people will begin to see that this man is being witch hunted. That was in their wisdom, the presidency. And again, the IG said the president cannot give directive as to who to prosecute or who not to prosecute. And that again was another twist. But then, from that moment on, even those who were skeptical would have seen that Adeleke was already in the book of the favorites to win that election. So the result of the election wasn't a surprise at all. The margin, though small, we should not lose sight of the fact that there were video evidence of a particular INEC official that confessed of collusion, sabotaging efforts, trying to destroy a result that they have released. He was apprehended by other party agents. These were indications that there was a grand conspiracy to scuttle the otherwise free and fair contest. by even the umpires themselves through their agents. If that is the case, the same umpire that stand indicted by the conduct of that their agent now went again to openly say, stop it. It's like June 12 annulment. You don't kill a baby, you don't abort a baby that is already born. They can't abort the results.
Okay.
They have declared it. They won't declare the winner.
Let me pause you there. Vice Adam Saliu, quickly. People talked about the economic situation of the people of Osun State, which they say has actually pulled the people away from the incumbent governor. Did you see that as something that played a role in the outcome of this election?
Well, yes, that was really a remote controller of the election, to the extent that the incumbent governor, in the booth behind his house, with a capacity of 200 votes, he got 132. The opponent got 80-something. That's very marginal for the booth where the governor, sitting governor voted, 132 to 80-something. Then his own predecessor, Olaguso Yonyolola, the booth near his house where he voted, he lost the election. The governor before that, Bisi Akonde, he lost the booth nearest to his house where he voted. So it means we are told the people were not paid salaries. They tried to make one religion superior to the other, telling them to wear one type of uniform, hijab and all that. So if you look at Osun State modus vivendi, the way of life, the past 3.5 years, the people were disenchanted. That is why the thing became neck to neck. Otherwise, a sitting governor with resources, with eternally generated revenue, has all it takes to fight a battle and win marginally.
All right, sir, just to let you know that we have Barrister Leonard Osa-Wage joining this discussion. Barrister Leonard, many thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, and my apologies for coming.
It's okay. Thank you for your commitment. We're going back to the legal, excuse me, legal interpretation of the decision taken by the returning officer, citing the Electoral Act and saying that where the margin between the two top contenders is far lower than the number of voided votes, then the election is declared inconclusive. I don't know what your thoughts are looking at what the Constitution says.
Well, firstly, I think this is clearly a constitutional issue. Yes. Section 179, particularly subsection 2, clearly states how winners emerge in an election. Because of the amendments that have been going on, I don't know if the Electoral Act that I have contains that particular provision just mentioned. I think it falls under regulations.
Yeah. Okay.
It is not an act of parliament, it's not a statute, it's not anywhere in the law that I have read. Okay. I stand to be corrected on that. I think because section 69 of the Electoral Act states very clearly how winners emerge in an election. And it is not envisaged this, what the INEC has just talked about. And we must understand, that is why we continue to make it very, very clear, very, very clear. And I also urge people to make this sound very clear, that the rule of law is the bastion of democracy. Yeah. Where there were times not too long ago where issues of rule of law and national security. And I said that was that clearly was not something to be debated, because it is clearly it is by the rule of law that you have the office. It is by the rule of law that you emerge as a president. And it's on that you anchor all things. For instance, some people will say it is going to the extreme. We once had candidates who contested elections, and they made insightful statements, and they made statements that people would ordinarily interpret to threaten national security. But nobody went for arrest or detaining any person and inciting national security. So the rule of law is the bastion of democracy. Without the rule of law, there will be no INEC, there will be no executive, there will be no judiciary, there will be no legislature. So if we are talking, and the rule of law is not just the pronouncement of courts. It is the laws, the system, the laws that upon which every action is based. Every action is anchored on. That is the rule of law. And so in this situation, if I brought the Constitution, I think you can read it in public. Section 179 constitutionally states that it is the highest, the man with the highest number of votes. The issue of whether there are voided votes or cancelled votes, it's not an issue that the Constitution talked about. And I believe the framers of the Constitution also had that in mind. And in order not to engage to all these issues of unnecessary bickering and heating of the polity, they made it the highest number, any person that had the highest number of votes. In as much as you are able to win a quarter of each of the states, up to 10 of the entire, at least a quarter of it in each of the local governments, of 2/3 of it. Once that is established, and that is not the premise upon which this inconclusive election was based on. And for that reason, my view from what I understand about it is it's unambiguous, it's very clear, it's unequivocal. The literal interpretation of that is that the person that had the highest number of votes, and if you go to that section 69 of the Electoral Act, he also made reference to section 179, which concerns the gubernatorial. The 133 and 134 concerns the presidential. Yeah. It is very clear that subject to section 1, narrowing that to the gubernatorial, subject to section 179 of the Constitution, the person with the highest number of votes. So, and when I say the rule of law, all regulations, as we can call it subsidiary legislation, subsidiary laws, that is rules, regulations, and all of that INEC may have powers to make regulations. But it cannot override the statutes. It cannot override the Constitution. Section 1 of the Constitution says any law that is contrary to it, to that extent, null and void. And so INEC cannot read into the Constitution or bring in rules and regulations that the Constitution is already taking care of.
So maybe INEC,
the statute has taken care of that position, and so INEC has no powers to make further regulations. And the Supreme Court has made pronouncement on these issues, even on electoral matters, as it concerns civil card readers. INEC have powers to bring in certain procedure, certain logistics, ways of going about it. But if it is not statutory or constitutional, it cannot in any way affect or cannot be in any way said to be the constitution, the statutory of doing it. That is why the card readers, even where issues arose with the card readers, the constitution said, look, the card readers, no mention of card readers in the electoral act on the Constitution. And for that reason, any malpractice or any malfunction or any irregularity that has to do with card reader cannot affect the result.
Yeah, that's cool.
And so INEC brought about card readers. INEC in these situations also has brought about a regulation. It may sound logical, but it is not the law.
Okay, let me pause it there. President,
because maybe INEC, when they will be in court, they'll be able to tell us that the vote garnered by the supposed winner was not collected from, was not up to 1/4 of the 2/3 of the federation. It's possible they have that.
No,
because as I said,
based on now, they are not said so.
They didn't say so.
They cannot make
let me ask this
He
question.
played fast to say that the margin was insignificant.
Yes, the premise upon which the returning officer made the pronouncement.
He said it was insignificant.
It was insignificant. What part of our law is that found?
It's not founded on law.
It's not in law. It's not in the law. It's not in the Constitution. It's not in the Electoral Act.
We can go through it. Last night when you called, searching it.
There's nothing like that.
I can't find it.
So
you can win by a single vote.
You can win by a single vote.
So, but I say when they get to court, maybe he'll be able to prove that the voter, the winner did not get 1/4 and 2/3 of the seat.
He cannot have
and he was silent. He was silent on it.
For declaring the election inconclusive.
That itself is not margin. That would have been. It's not. It has not complied. Margin is simply the number.
He said the
winning number. That's the margin.
You can have the highest number of votes, even if it is by one. And it is also a mistake that certainly there will be void votes.
Yes.
There wasn't a tie. There was a tie. So we cannot declare winner.
Yes,
it's not tie. There was a clear winner.
The basis of one of the conditions upon which
to get
you
a
can
clear
also declare conclusive election. When there is tie and the returning officer cannot return a candidate.
Then you do a rerun in 7 days.
And the other situation is where you have not been able to get 1/4 of the local government.
He said that.
Interesting. Well, if you just join us, it's still TMI Monday. We've been looking at the OSUN State governorship election matters arising against the background that a winner is yet to emerge based on the pronouncement of the returning officer, the Vice Chancellor of Federal University of Technology, Akure, obviously speaking for INEC because he's been given the mandate to do that. But we know that reactions have continued to trail the outcome of that election. So what is that thing that is supposed to be done now? What is it that is supposed to be done? Because I heard people say, look, declare the PDP candidate winner. Is that what is supposed to be done now? Let me start with Vice Leonard.
I think it is very clear, and I know that those who have run for elections also know what to do, because you know politicians, they are very desperate in getting their, even when they have lost, they also fight their way to see how they can regain their mandate. In this situation, so far the result declared by INEC suggests that the PDP candidate had the highest number of votes. And it will be very easy for them to just approach the Federal High Court to declare the man.
Order of Madamus.
For INEC to declare him as the winner of the election.
For INEC?
So it is, I don't think there will be difficulty in arriving at the decision, because the laws are expressly clear. I don't see how it can be interpreted otherwise.
But this is Nigeria, you know?
You cannot. That is why we say the rule of law is the bastion of democracy.
Ours is not a lawless society.
It's not a lawless situation. And we have the judiciary, very well courageous judiciary, I can say that will be able to look, speak, as they say, speak to the power. Now, because you have the support of the Constitution and the Electoral Act. It's not an issue of 50-50 or it's an issue of fact to be decided. The fact has been established. It is the application of the law now to the fact. Because INEC has established the fact that the PDP has the highest number of votes. So how do you apply the law? Will that take any judge? It will not be any difficult.
Now, INEC, the prayer by PDP today is that INEC should declare or declare their candidate the winner. Well, obviously, INEC cannot approbate and reprobate. It cannot announce the result 2 days ago and announce another one today. So the court of law is the arbiter, and it should go there, and we say res ipsa loquitur. The matter speaks for itself. Facts are sacred. And consciences are free. So
okay, let me start there. Say. I've also heard read some analysis about the implications for the ruling party as it relates to the outcome of Osun State election. Any implication for the ruling party?
I don't know whether there's a general blanket of the implication politically of the outcome of Osun election. All I know is that the Osun people have decided their destiny politically through the ballots, and that their will must be respected. That is that. We are dealing with the known. We are not dealing with the unknown yet. When the unknown emerges and becomes the known, then we can speak on it. As far as I'm concerned, there was a general enchantment among the Osun people against the Arigbe-Shola-led administration. And they have expressed their disappointment in practical terms by voting against the party that Arigbe-Shola represents in the Osun State, which means they're charting a different destiny for themselves. And INEC cannot impose a destiny on the people who have chosen to take the other part. INEC is not a stakeholder in Osun State polity. They are just umpire, commissioned to organize election, they cannot now come and impose a destiny. That itself will work against their independence. They have shown bias by their pronouncements. It is very obvious. The only way to save their image now is to do the needful. After declaring the results, they must declare the winner. They can't declare the result and fail to declare the winner. And again, for the overall implication, I think it's more on INEC. The confidence will continue to repose in INEC to conduct free and fair election will be tainted if they are towing this part of dishonor. INEC cannot double as a partisan party to an electoral contest. They are meant to be an umpire. If this INEC attitude continues, Nigeria might be calling for the sack of the leadership of INEC and total overhauling, because we cannot gamble with our political destiny in the hand of an umpire that is exhibiting partisanship.
Okay, but Mr. Leonard, back-to-back two elections. First was the Ekiti election, and then, of course, I believe INEC was scored highly, and now the OSUN State governorship election. There have been serious question marks about the conduct of the election. At the Ekiti State election, what came out strongly was stories about vote selling and vote buying. In the OSUN State election, it looks like that is also not on the front burner now, except that the election has been declared inconclusive. What's your assessment of INEC in these two elections?
Well, it was the integrity and the trust for INEC was gathering momentum, particularly under this current leadership. People were beginning to gain that confidence because a lot of people viewed the current management, the head, with some suspicion because of the way the appointment was made and the affiliations that people had alleged that he had certain persons who are currently in power who also will be seeking elections in 2019 and all of that. So people had that doubt and that suspicion, and it actually put that pressure. I expected that to put that pressure on them to be able to prove themselves worthy, so that people's confidence would be, rekindled and it would be there. And so in the Ekiti elections, people, the distraction as to, for me, the distraction as to the performance of INEC was taken by this vote buying and vote selling. So the assessment critically was not really there by people, because what only now took the attention of the international observers and watchers of election processes was this vote buying and vote selling, because that was really, really on the front burner. So the assessment of INEC was not critical at that time. But here we are. It seems we've been able to surmount the issue of vote buying and vote selling, not completely, but substantially. And so that was people, hooray! I mean, we've been able to get this far in this short while. Okay. So, but unfortunately for INEC, the decision that they now took has really, really, whatever they may have gained for it, because Nigerians, a lot of the way politicians and those who are at the helms of affairs see Nigeria, they see Nigerians as fools or people who will take anything. But Nigerians are also very critically minded. They know the fact that Nigerians are not speaking out now doesn't mean that they don't know,
and they will forever be silent.
And they will ever be silent. And so, for some of us who have the opportunity, not everybody have the opportunity to speak out. They may speak out, but in their own little comfort zone. Yeah. But those of us who have the opportunity, you can hear. And I know these men, with all due respect, they are people who are partisan politicians, and they have their own influence to certain parties. And I know the elder there is
proudly so.
Is an APC man. And as a lawyer, you must speak the truth. The facts are clear, and I'm very, very proud. And I am happy that, you are towing the path of truth, and not that of partisan. And that's what this country needs. Okay. And once we have that, continuously expressed, and I'm sure, and people, INEC also sees that, look, when, as they usually say in the parlance, when there's too much dirt in the soup, the blind man will see. And that's the situation we find ourselves now. And I think that has also detracted from whatever credibility and from whatever confidence that the people were trying to have in INEC. And I think they have a huge task ahead of them to be able to do that U-turn and begin to
restore their credibility.
There's nothing stopping INEC now to say, look, come, I think we have
contacted our legal department.
Yes, we have contacted them, and there are dissenting views. Yeah. We can approach a court for the interpretation of Section 179 of the Constitution. We can approach the court for the interpretation of Section 69. You know, they can do that. The courts are already on now. It won't take them more than today to be able to file an originating summons for the interpretation of these sections. And whether or not INEC regulations, whether or not there's a vacuum for which INEC regulations are come to fill. And whether it can, these are questions they can bring on their own as the umpire, because it has become an issue that has become, they will say, is recondite. For me, it's not recondite. If they can come under that excuse, oh, we think it's recondite, this particular issue is recondite, okay, let's approach a court. They can do that, and I'm sure within the next 1 week, a court can deliver a decision on this.
Okay, Governor Rauf Aregbesola, who is the incumbent governor of OSUN State, has expressed optimism that his party, the All Progressives Congress APC, will win the next Thursday's rerun election. Of course, you know that Ademola Adeleke of the PDP led the race with 254,698 votes, 353 votes more than that of Boyega Oyetola of the APC. The margin was, however, less than 3,498 votes in the polling units where voting were cancelled. That seems to be the crux of the matter. Now, what does this mean for 2019 election? Let me come to you, Pastor Matthew Degese. Any meaning, any interpretation, any extrapolation for 2019?
First, Aregbesola is not on the ballot. He has no locus to be speaking as if he were one of the candidates for the election. He has had his own time, and the time was uneventful by the outcome of the election. If he was such a hero of the OSUN people, his goodwill would have been able to play positively and impart on the outcome of the election. He cannot now get what he cannot get through the front door, through the window. He shouldn't be talking of a second bite at the cherry. He can't eat his cake and have it back. His party had lost, and the loss is traceable to his administrative poor outing, and he cannot now turn out to be their marketing officer, chief marketing officer, hoping to profit from a wrong. There is no way a credible election can take place under this foundation of fraud. If INEC is calling for a rerun where none is legally necessary, then there is suspicion. And with Aregbesola now speaking, adding his voice, that smells of a grand conspiracy to subvert the people's will. Aregbesola shouldn't be seen saying that we will win the election after they have lost it. That amounts to planned arrangement to rig and win.
This may just be speculation.
If you are saying you will win and you have already lost, and you are insisting that there must be a rerun where there is no necessity for it, then you are a prime suspect.
Let's get some facts straight.
Yes,
it is not Aregbesola that has said that there will be a rerun. He is speaking as an individual. In times like this, everyone has his own individual opinion. What is going to happen is the matter of electoral college, like what we say in legal politics. And in electoral college, the personality of the candidate comes into focus. Otherwise, in an omnibus election, where you have 48 political parties, fielding 48 candidates, people from Ife will vote for Ife man, people in Elisha, people in Osogbo, that is an omnibus. But when you come to electoral college of the two highest candidates, the personality of the candidate will come into focus. That is, you know, in 1979, the NPN avoided this when it became electoral college for Shagari and Awolowo.
What we are saying is that there will be no basis for a rerun. That is the basic.
No, they have put forward a rerun to hold about 144 hours time. 32. If it comes, it's a personality profile between the two leading contenders. Arebeshola spoke his mind as a Nigerian citizen. And there is nobody contesting the election who is not optimistic. All the 48 candidates that contested from the 48 party were ambitious. So let his wish be with him. But electoral college is a personality class between the two leading candidates. And it is not as free, it's not as uncertain as a general election when there are multiple candidates.
The returning officer also said that all the political parties that contested in the first election will also participate in the rerun. Is this okay? Is this also provided for in our extant laws?
It is not. It is not.
F179 too.
It's clear. Only the two persons who has the highest number of votes will go into that election. Where not in this scenario, there's no clear where there is no clear winner as provided for by the constitution. That is, for instance, where the two of them have the same number of votes, or where they have that's where they have a tie, or where they have not been able to win the spread as envisaged by the constitution, which is a quarter each of the 2/3 of the states.
And therefore you're dancing here and there.
Okay.
So it's one aberration to another.
So this one, it is not envisaged. It is not. These are just on the basis of regulations.
Okay.
Which the regulation is subservient to the law.
Okay.
Where the law makes a provision for it, the regulation itself is null and void. It has no voice. It's no moment. It's of no moment. And the law in this situation has clearly made, it's that the highest number of the person that scored the highest number of votes is declared.
Well, INEC will be able to prove that highest number of votes was not gotten from 1/4 or 2/3.
INEC should not be proving. INEC is not to be proving. No, INEC should not be proving. Let those who are contesting the result be the one to prove. INEC cannot jump into the
INEC. I'm sorry, sir, with the greatest respect. INEC cannot reprobate and approbate. INEC has said the reason why the election.
He has given a reason. He has given a reason.
They cannot now go back and that would be an afterthought. Where they are not saying that the reasons they gave are not legally tenable. They are not shopping for other reasons. You cannot shop for reasons. At that point, and the thing is, the law also said it is only, even INEC now, people are saying INEC should reverse itself. INEC really can't reverse itself, even if he wants to. Because the constitution says that once the pronouncement of the returning officer is made, it becomes binding. Yes. Only a tribunal or a court of law can upset it.
That's it.
No authority, no person, no institution can say. Once the returning officer has said it, once it leaves his mouth, it has been said. It cannot, even the returning officer himself cannot say, just a second ago I said so, but I'm no longer saying so. He has said it and it has come out from his mouth. He's bound by it. And every person is bounded. The only institution that can set it aside is the tribunal and the court of law.
Okay, we'll take this story from the MCR now on the pronouncement by the returning officer, and then we will be back to conclude our conversation on the OSUN State governorship election. Well, the rerun is built for Thursday. It looks like the PDP may not go ahead with that rerun. They may be head for the court. All of that we will talk about shortly. And then to conclude it formally, we also just stray into what's happening in Lagos State, where it looks like the incumbent governor is just on the verge of not getting a second term ticket. If anything that we're hearing is if there's anything to go by based on what's becoming from Lagos. But let's listen to the reports on the announcement by the returning officer for OSUN State governorship election.
INEC's returning officer, Joseph Afowakpe, who announced the results, said PDP candidate Ademola Adeleke polled 254,699 votes, while Gboyega Oyetola of the All Progressives Congress had 254,345 votes. Iyola Omisore of the Social Democratic Party polled 120,049 votes. Mr. Afowakpe, however, said since the difference between the two leading parties was just 353 votes, but the number of cancelled votes was 3,549, no winner has emerged. He therefore declared the OSUN governorship election inconclusive.
According to the election guideline, where the margin of win between two leading candidates is not in excess of the total number of registered voters of the polling units where elections were cancelled, a candidate or a party may not be returned. From the analysis of results that we have, the difference between the two leading parties is just 353. And the number of voters in units where elections were cancelled is 3,498. To that effect, unfortunately, as a returning officer, it's not possible to declare any party as the clear winner of this election on the first ballot. I, Joseph Adeola Afowakpe, hereby declare this election inconclusive.
Meanwhile, INEC has announced Thursday, 27th September as a new date for a run after Saturday's inconclusive OSUN governorship election. William Siama reporting.
Of course, you heard from Professor Joseph Afowakpe, who is the returning officer in the OSUN State governorship election, saying, unfortunately, he can't declare any outright winner in the election. And so, a new date has been set for the rerun of the OSUN State governorship election. If the stakeholders decides to move ahead with the election outcome, what would be your advice to the PDP candidate under this circumstance?
Well, for the PDP candidates, that is time for lobbying and repoliticking. 48 candidates were supposed to have conducted the election. They should liaise with the SDP, UPN, all the other mushroom parties, sit together and put up a united front. As I said, it's a headlong fight between two people now. Personality comes into focus. So, and he's already standing on a favorable ground. They can form alliance and the alliance make some promises for offices here and there. It's a very interesting fight to go into the electoral college.
Pastor Matthew, what would be your advice to the ruling party in that state?
If I were their legal advisor, I would ask them to approach the courts and even seek, get a restraining order, stopping an from organizing a run where it is not, there's no supportive.
I'm talking about the ruling party, not the opposition party.
The ruling party?
Yes, the APC. What would be advice to them if they're going into rerun?
If assuming without considering that there was a need for a run, and they chose to go for a run, I do not think what has fundamentally changed. So what they need to do is to get the goodwill of the people of Ekiti State in their favor, and I see that as an uphill task, because nothing they could have done between when they lost just now and now to undo.
To turn the table in their favor. All right, Barcelona. Now, what you make of the level of political education and consciousness of the people in Osun State? In fact, we could just say the West generally. What do you make of it against the background of what happened in Ekiti, having someone like Ayodele Fayose, tough talking and all of that, and then now we are in Osun State, just see the way the results have turned out?
Firstly, I would like to just make a remark in respect of what the returning officer said. It was very clear. He said, he referred to the INEC guidelines. He didn't refer to a statute.
Electoral Act.
No. Not even the Constitution.
He referred to the INEC guidelines, which are subservient. Okay. So, of course, that is very clear to those who understand.
He even used the word unfortunately.
Yes. So once he has referred to the INEC guidelines where the statute provides for such situations, it was on very wrong footing at that time.
Okay.
He may not be a law expert, but I think he was also advised by INEC on what to do. And I guess that was what informed that decision.
We learned that there was a call. He picked a call right there on the set, and that was what changed the tide.
I didn't see anybody pick a call.
I've seen it.
I just watched the report now. I didn't see anybody pick a call there.
I've seen it.
Well, that was before. I think even before they collated, they already knew what the results were before they went to before they sent the results to the returning officer. At the state collation center, the results were already known. In fact, once the results started coming from the ward, from the polling units, you already know as soon as they get into the system, it begins to compute. It adds up itself. It's automated. So as soon as all the results come, it's automated. You see the winners, and at that time, they would have advised the returning officer bringing this issue of the guidelines.
Okay.
Of course, that is what I would have informed what the decision. As coming to political education, I think, of course, significant progress has been made in respect of political education. It may not be substantial enough, but it is not where it was when this new democratic experience started. People are becoming more aware. They are also becoming more aware of their rights. The freedom, people are making use of the freedom, even though those in powers still teleguide and try to restrain that freedom of the people. There are certain statements that may be common knowledge that people want to make, even in media. In an occasion like this, the media men will restrain and restrict you from that. But these are things that there was during just permit me to say this, during the George Bush era, Jr., when he was about leaving office, I remember there was an occasion, I think it was what the State of the Union was addressing, and I watched this on the international media. I saw a woman holding a placard for him to read murderer. Why was he calling him a murderer? Because he sent people to Iraq. Some of them had children who went to Iraq and never came back. And so they were calling him murderer, but nobody gagged them, nobody arrested them, nobody questioned them. Here we are, people will want to voice their feelings, their opinion. Of course, it is often said, and rightly so too, that the buck stops at the table of the executive. And so when you want to make your complaints, of course you channel it to the executive. You don't channel it to elsewhere, but the executive. And when you do that, people are saying that you are making hate speeches, you are inciting,
hitting up the politics.
You are, and these are things that are supposed to put the elected officers on their toes. That is what democracy is all about. But I think we are gradually getting there. The education is more, and that can be seen again in this election. Because a lot of people, prior to the day before the election, we read on the papers that some persons were offering 10,000 naira and all of
per
that.
Vote,
per vote, they were upping the game, but of course it was downplayed. Not that there were no vote buying, but of course it was not as
the impact. There was a resistance.
Yes, it was not as it was. So the political education, the people are getting to understand what democracy is.
All right, Mr. Adam Saluk, just parting words. The fate of the governor of Lagos State is hanging in the balance to get a second term ticket. What have you got to say along those lines?
Well, I'm always impressed when it comes to politics. The case of Lagos Governor Ambode, some governors think that they are the parties, whereas it's not so indeed and the truth. A governor is a member of a political party. So people are saying that his godfather does not want him to have automatic tickets. They forgot that the very Ambode was brought in by a godfather. If he were brought in by a godfather once upon a time, 3.5 years ago, that very godfather now says, no, I don't bring you again. Go and contest primaries. There's nothing wrong with primaries. The governor in this case, 57 local governments in Lagos, they all went to sponsor Sanwo-Olu to contest with him. The present governor, they do not control one chairman of the local government. In fact, he relocated to Ekpe and was ruling the Lagos State from Ekpe. He modernized Ekpe. Those are details. But there's nothing wrong in the sitting governor contesting primaries with any other aspirant. It's not always a fait accompli. It's not always automatic that if you do 4 years, automatically you'll be returned of post for a second term. The national chairman of APC, Oyego, he didn't do 2 terms. There must be elections. So let him go and contest primaries.
Okay, Mr. Matthew Davis, it looks like the much talked about godfatherism in politics is still very, very relevant in our politics till tomorrow.
I'm excited by learned friend Aliu now just mentioned the godfather brought up Bode, and the godfather is now saying he's also wishing him away. I don't know how that one fit into a democratic arrangement where the will of the people should naturally prevail. Will of the people cannot be solely tied to the will of a collegiate put in place by the godfather himself. If the local government chapter of the party leadership are saying they want it this way, it is actually the wish of the godfather that they are trying to enforce, the will. That is not the will of the people of Lagos State.
Okay.
If I were Ambode, I will go ahead, launch my ambition, launch my campaign, and if possible, that structure that is not controlled by him was actually put in place by somebody else. They are loyal to that other person. Yes. He should have played the politics of setting up a parallel structure. Let's let the game start in earnest.
All right. What's your final word on that, Mr. Leonard?
Yeah. Well, when you talk about the godfather's vote is one. Yes, he may have influence over structures, over persons, but these are persons who are also independent in heart. The godfather can speak, but the godfather has not said, I don't want you.
Or I want you.
Or I want you.
He says,
let the people decide.
Let the people decide. But that, of course, for him is that, this should have been one, because the decision that came out from NEC was that either they have what they call
direct primary or indirect
or a consensus. So I think many of them were hoping, once the godfather insisted on a consensus, that means it would be an anointed one. But what the godfather has now said, go to indirect, it means that body language speaks volumes. Of course, it means that I will not come back. And that is what people are, the meaning that people are reading into it.
Okay.
And of course, you should go, let the people decide. Let all these things be democratic. No matter the hands that you say, the hand of Esau and the voice of Jacob. Of course, that will continue to remain with us for a long time as the political enlightenment, begins to gather momentum, where people will now have the courage to be able to
migrate
be
to civilized
independent of the decisions they make, irrespective of whoever had contributed to.
All right, thank you, gentlemen, for your time with us on the program. Barcelona, many thanks for coming on the show. Barcelona Matthew Odege said thank you again, and Barrister Adam Saliu, appreciate you.